The summer 2025 anime season was absolutely insane. It was jam-packed full of highly anticipated new titles. We had the return of so many beloved series, all leading anime fans to be, well, exhausted. It was insane. We had Takopi's original sin traumatizing the collective anime fandom. They tried to gaslight us into thinking that this was a dog. This best Dadaru was OP as We had an isekai turn into a fat bastard that dies if he has sex. Kyoto Animation animated 9 episodes to make 1 episode. Monica was so cute when she was drunk. Thousands of otaku suddenly signed up for geology for that thickness. Tsumugi Winders was patting her chest. Sony almost sued themselves over this incredible scene. We learned to never show a gyaru your belly button. Damn, is this what boys love anime is about? Protecting Smiles, the animation aired. This show only got attention because ChatGPT said something. The anime industry gave a collective you to censorship, dropping so many lewd titles in this season, including a show where a guy invented mines. Penny and Stocking having an episode where the Fast and Furious characters are trying to create a family, and we were introduced to Thai wrestling. We had Modern get literally broken because they had and energy drinks in the same aisle. This studio accidentally sent High Dive the wrong masters, and it was hilarious. This show went 2 minutes before they realized that she was sitting on this guy's face. And finally, I broke up with Rent a Girlfriend. But with all that said, as the dust settles for the summer 2025 anime season, I have poured through the numbers. I have looked over every single title that I've watched, and I went through the grueling process of picking 10 of my babies to say that they're my top 10 of the season. It was very, very difficult. I had a very long shortlist, I have way too many honorable mentions, and I even made very difficult decisions to cut things on technicalities. But here is my top 10 anime of the summer 2025 anime season. Kicking things off with my number 10, Kyoto Animation rarely misses for me. And then you add the creative mind of Nishisho with them, and you get pure comedy gold. Yes, my number 10 is City The Animation. I really, really adored this show, and I'm thankful for that because, yes, I had high expectations for this. I adore Nishisho. And so when I'm coming to this show, I'm expecting more Nishisho, and thankfully for the most part, it delivered. There's a few misses here and there, but for the most part, I did really enjoy this show. What I think makes this creator so special is their ability to kind of take the mundane things of life and then turn them into like this absurd spectacle. You have a series that is about essentially a bunch of people within a city, and they all have their own lives, their own jobs, their own experiences, their own friends, yada, 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 and they're all interacting with each other. And then again, it's always turned into some bombastic thing that just is absurd. You have these 3 that are roommates, and they're constantly at each other's throats, but you obviously realize that they like each other. And then you have over here, you have a senpai and a kohai. One of them is moving away soon, and they're afraid of telling them, but they're just going out and having fun together, enjoying their time they have remaining together. You have this girl over here that I absolutely adore. Is a schoolgirl who's always like sleepy, always tired, always falling asleep in class, and how everybody just absolutely adores her. So they're all trying to help her out, or every time that she acknowledges them, they just get doki doki. It's just a crazy cast of characters. Oh yeah, the butler. The crazy butler. Like I said, I'll admit that they're not all hits. Not every single scene had me laughing out loud. I'm not even sure if Nishisho did. I just have rose-tinted glasses for it. But I did really love a lot of the scenes of the series, and I really did think that it was a comedy that I'm going to look back on fondly. I really did enjoy my time with it. And yes, Kyoto Animation just went crazy with it. They did the same thing with Nishisho. They did the same thing with this one. Kyoto Animation just really feels like they just have a love for this creator's work. And they're taking every scene and just taking it to the next level, doing so much more than you would expect that most studios would do. Like, for example, there's a lot of characters in this cast, and there's a lot of scenes where you just have a lot of people doing different things at the same time. And their ability to kind of show that attention to detail, show like a broader view of all that stuff, and everybody's still kind of doing things is incredible. There's this whole sequence in this one episode where literally the entire cast, which again is this entire city, are all doing different things that all culminate to one thing in the middle, this one festival in the middle. And building up to it, they pretty much animated like 9 different episodes into a single episode because it's showing all these individual people in their separate panels all at the same time, doing different things, coming to this one place, and then it pans out and it shows everybody together. Them all doing their own separate things. Yes, in a lot of cases, there's kind of repeated looping animations here or there, but to do that much work just for one episode, it blows the mind. Like how much effort was put into this, and it's incredible. The character designs are fantastic. I love the animation style itself. Just everything was on full cylinder to make this a very enjoyable ride, and I highly recommend it. Definitely check it out. City, The Animation, my number 10. For my next one, you might want to sit down for this one. this might be a shocker to a lot of people. This next one actually features a main character who still has the presence of his still alive, supportive parents. Yes, the fragrant flower blooms of dignity is my number 9. Jokes aside, I really, really love the parents in this show. They're just so fantastic. Rentaro's mother is just a sweetheart. Her constantly trying to just drill in his head that he has people that are supporting him. It was so fantastic. Then later on, getting the father and how he goes out of his way, even though he's super tired, to help his son with his whole debacle that he's in. It's just, why can't more anime have the presence of parents? It's such good and easy writing right there. It's so easy to get your heartstrings pulled. Anyways, no, my number 9, Fragrant Flower Blooms. I really did enjoy this show, and this is another one that I was, cautiously coming into, but I had some expectations for, and that was mainly around the fandom behind it. Like, the source material fans of this series were just hyping it up. I think that's mainly why it was so high on Mal. Just everybody was like, holy crap, this anime adaptation's coming up. The PVs are looking good. Like, the source material fans are like, oh my gosh, we're eating good. Look at the PV. It looks so good. And I really did fall in love with it. And yes, a lot of my love for Fragrant Flower Blooms is around Karuko. Like, she is just this foofball. She's short. She's super cute. She just wants to eat her sweets. She looks super happy when she's eating her sweets. You just want to give her all the sweets in the world and just make her happy for the rest of her life. Just this smile that must be protected. But there was so much more here that I wasn't really expecting. Yes, I had a little bit of a pause coming into it, going, oh crap, here we go. Romeo and Juliet. They're doing the Romeo and Juliet story. You have essentially, the story is these two schools side by side. One is an all-girls school with like all these prim and proper girls, and then you have the school next to it is all the boys that literally don't have the grades to get into any good schools. And they hate each other. Like, these two schools hate each other. But I liked getting into more and more why the two schools are like at odds with each other. It's a more deeper rooted issue there. And thankfully, that whole Romeo and Juliet concept wasn't really at all that present. Yes, it was quite a bit for the first few episodes because, like, they shouldn't be with each other and everybody's afraid of them, revealing that they're together. That kind of went to the wayside very quickly. What at its core the story is about is Karuko and Rintaro's relationship, which I really did find to be very enjoyable. It's basically the idea of the guy who everybody thinks he's super mean because he's got that look. even though he's like a big teddy bear, he's not a bad person. It's just that he looks rough. And so everybody's afraid of him and thinks that he's a delinquent. And then you have the girl over here who's just this sweetheart, beautiful, pure joy thing that wants to learn more about him. And she's pursuing him, and he feels that he's not, worthy of having somebody coming after him and talking to him. And that kind of slowly building into a relationship. It's a lot to do with Rintaro and him just lacking confidence in himself. And it's learning that confidence and realizing the people around you that are trying to support you that you're just turning a blind eye to. It's a lot of awakening in Rintaro's character. Him realizing what he's ignoring, that his friends are supporting him, that people are at his side, that they do like him, and that he does have reasons for being liked. That kind of stuff is kind of coming to the forefront. And the way they kind of played all that out was fantastic. I love getting to Subaru as well, which is Karuko's friend. All the stories they kind of got into so far has been really fantastic. And I'm really looking forward to more of it. All kind of packaged, yes, like I said earlier, very beautiful show. Cloverworks, just going ham, making a very beautiful show. A lot of beautiful shots, and yes, lots of very beautiful and cute Karuko moments. I absolutely loved it. I really love Karuko's character. I want more of her. But yeah, my number 9, The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity. For my number 8, yes, traumatized, cute, gun-toting animal girls in floofy jackets. Yes, Arknights Rise from Ember. Yes, for those that know me, know that I love my Arknights anime. Even though I'm not a massive fan of the game, I have just really been kind of invested in the Arknights franchise overall. And so, yes, Rise from Ember was going to be in here. A very short season as typical, only 10 episodes for this one, but I really do feel like the more this series goes on, the more and more I'm falling in love with it. I think early on, I just really like the aesthetic, the cute animal girls with guns and, yeah, very kind of traumatic experiences they're going through, the high drama they're going through. But as the story went along, I've been more and more invested into each one of these characters, the different factions, the governments, the politics, all that stuff. Everything that Amiya and the Doctor is kind of wrapped up in with this really screwed up world of discrimination, diseases, and all this kind of crap they're trying to deal with. For those that don't know, it follows Rhodes Island, which is this group that's trying to find a cure for this disease that's kind of impacting everybody. And within this world, yes, those that are infected are kind of sent away from civilization, discriminated against, harmed, killed, etc. And yes, with that discrimination these kingdoms are having, gives rise to those that are infected, creating their own group called the Reunion. And these Reunion are trying to fight back. So Rhodes Island's trying to find a cure for them while also kind of working with the governments to kind of say, hey, stop mistreating these people. We're trying to give them some sort of place to stay and trying to help them out. They're trying to be the middleman between these two groups. Like I said before, just a lot of politics, a lot of push and pull, a lot of political intrigue, a lot of conflict that's kind of building up in the series. And as the series goes on, and especially with this season more so than ever, just love seeing the build up of these characters, getting a lot more of the backstory of these characters, getting more into the Doctor, getting more into Amiya, getting more into the Rhodes Island and its origin itself. It just has me wanting more and more every single episode. And now it seems like the Reunion's seemingly done, kind of curious where we're going to go for the story going forward. Especially since the fact that I think this is all supposed to be all a prelude to the actual story. So apparently the story is only just starting, so hopefully get more. But I've really loved the series. Definitely can't wait for more. Rise from Ember, Arknights, highly suggest it. My number 8. Moving on to my number 7. What do you get when you take Norn Greyart from Mushoku Tensei, you give her the personality of Hattori Goto from Bocchi the Rock, and then you shove her into a fantasy world? Monica Everett. Yes, pretty much Monica Everett. Yes, my number 7 is Secrets of the Silent Witch. I really, really, really like this show, and I'm surprised how much I liked it. Yes, coming into it, I expected I was going to enjoy it somehow because the PVs look really good. And I'm like, gosh, the magic, the animation, just gorgeous. The character designs were fantastic. Everything was like looking like a really cool fantasy, different kind of direction to take a fantasy story. The concept here is essentially this girl, and she becomes one of the 7 sages because she knows how to do chantless casting, and then she kind of just shuts herself away up in a hut because she just doesn't deal with people very well. That's why she learned chantless casting, is because she couldn't speak up to do her chanting in front of the exams, so she had to learn how to do chantless, which literally nobody else can do. But she shuts herself away, and then eventually one of the other 7 sages comes in and say, hey, they're trying to assassinate this prince. I can't go to the school where he's going to, so I want you to go there and, guard him in secrecy. So now she's going to the school, and she's having to get out of her comfort zone and, basically be near the prince and protect him from assassinations. What I really wasn't expecting, and what I really did fall in love with the series for, wasn't really the overall plot line. It's fine. Again, it's the whole assassination plot line, yada, yada, yada. Some of the side characters are kind of interesting. What really drew me to this show and what I fell in love with it for, and what's really kind of driven me to want to check out the source material, is Monica Everett. I absolutely love her character. Yeah, like I said before, she's literally Bocchi. She's Bocchi from Bocchi the Rock, but in a fantasy setting. I'm not even joking there. But what they've done with her character is that slow progression of her character. Every now and then a regression, but for the most part, it's like this slow progression of her character coming out of her comfort zone, getting out there and doing things, and then realizing at some point she really likes what she's doing. She's liking that she's getting out of that shell. She's liking that she's trying new things. She's doing exactly what it seems like her father wanted her to do, try new things and get out there and do things. And it's difficult for her. Again, it's a girl that's kind of shut herself away, and she has those fears that she seemingly, for right reasons, has. What's happened in her past was horrible. There's a reason why this girl does not want to get out there, why she's terrified of people. But seeing that progression, seeing her get out there, meet people, and find joys in her life, every now and then kind of again falling back, it's never a simple fix. This is a girl that's trying. But seeing how she's like gone from episode 1 all the way to episode 13 of just this first core, which I hope we have multiple of, has been really fantastic. I think they really pulled that stuff off really well. I absolutely love this show. Monica is just adorable. I absolutely love her. And I really, really hope we get more. But yeah, easily my number 7, Silent Witch. Definitely check it out. Moving on to number 6. Yes, the hot cosplaying modern is here. The hot Gyaru that cosplay is here. Actually, technically for me personally, it's Juju. Juju best girl, by the way. Juju best girl. And we got some Juju in this season. But no, My Dress Up Darling season 2 is my number 6. And my gosh, this season was fantastic. I already loved the first season. Now, I always claim that I felt like season 1 of My Dress Up Darling is sort of an example of something that doesn't really do anything new, but what it does do, it does it perfectly. That it's not creating the genre of rom-com. It's not creating the concept of the Gyaru that likes the guy who has no self-confidence. None of that stuff is new. Cosplay, all that stuff. None of this stuff is new. It's not doing anything new here. It's not doing the will they, won't they any new here. But what it's doing in doing that stuff is doing it pretty much better than everybody else. This is one of those ones where now that you have this, literally you don't really want to recommend any of the other stuff because it does it so freaking well. But season 2, season 2, they just took it to another level. First things first, visually, it just felt like the budget, the planning, and everything was just so much better. Like, so many shots of these characters were so well animated, constantly moving characters. It just, the expressiveness of them, the animation itself was just, again, like they doubled the budget at least. Like they doubled the budget at least. Added to that, I really did love the character progressions in this season. One of the weaknesses that season 1 had was that Gojo's character really goes nowhere. He really feels like the same in the first episode that he was in the final episode. This season, Gojo just had such a boost in confidence. He's getting out there more. He's learning to not kind of doubt himself as much. He's realizing that not everybody's out to get him all the time. He's realizing people that are supporting him are there. His eyes are kind of being woken up here and there. Yes, he's still stupid dense when it comes to Marin herself, but we'll get there, right? We'll get there eventually, right? But everybody but Marin so far, it feels like he's finally opening up. He's getting that confident. He's finally able to step forward and say, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to get done. Let's do it. I love that progression in his character. Marin, at the same time, I think Marin kind of took more of a back seat. Now, there's some great moments for her in this season, of course. Really finally getting that nudge for her. I need to say something now. I have obvious feelings here. I need to do something. But I think Gojo kind of took the cake. He kind of took the cake. And like I mentioned earlier, a lot of side characters that I absolutely love. They had so many great new characters pop up in the season. And like I said earlier, my favorite girl, Juju. It took a while for them to actually have her appear in the show, but when she finally did, I was like, holy crap, this is some of the best stuff for Juju's character yet. Like, just seeing her, again, getting a boost in confidence similar to Gojo in a different way. Her, like, literally feeling so much body shame for herself. Like, this girl's so down on her own self, her body, her confidence. And yes, questioning that idea of this is something I want to keep doing. All these messages that they kind of got into with this one season, it just feels like it'd take me a while to kind of explain it all. I think they did a great job for it. The writing and everything is just kind of taken a massive step up, and it has me extremely excited for another season. So yeah, definitely easy. Number 6, My Desert Darling, season 2. Moving on to my number 5, not all heroes wear capes. And yes, one of the very few heroes that wears capes in this series jumped off a building in the first episode, so don't wear a cape in this series. But no, yes, my number 5 is To Be Hero X. I really, really love this show. It was just one of those shows where it's like, not that I feel that something in it is doing something inherently like super deep, but at the same time, like its overall production, the quality itself, the very kind of condensed stories that all do sort of wrap up together into a bigger plot line later on, was all done incredibly well. And this definitely does have me really excited to kind of check out this director's other work, which a lot of people love, is Link Click. This writer is pretty damn clever with their writing. Yes, a lot of hero stories have taken the heroes in different directions. We've had stories where, yeah, the hero is just simply a good person and stops bad guys. We've had hero stories where the heroes are actually really nasty people and you get to see the darker side of heroes. This one's kind of taking it in those directions, but other directions as well. The core crux of this story really kind of revolves around the trust system. This idea that at some point, mankind started getting trust values. And with trust value, the more people that trust you, your trust value goes up, and it gives you power. And yes, like we do, humankind decides to corporatize it. Businesses started being created around the idea of, again, taking heroes and marketing them. Put them out there, put them on billboards so that everybody sees them, thus their trust value goes up and they become more powerful. It gets into the corporatizing of heroes and how heroes are manufactured in a sense. And I love how they kind of went through each one of these characters and kind of showed their own individual stories, where they started, how they got their initial trust value, and how they kind of built up to being one of the top 10 in the world. You have Lin Ling, who witnesses the death of Nice, and then they decide to basically make him look like Nice so that he basically becomes Nice. You have Yang, who looks up to the Flash of this world, which is Isol, and eventually his rise up to eventually replace Isol. But the one thing that I loved most about this show is the curse of trust. The idea that as somebody gets more and more trust value, they'll gain a superpower, but there's always like a negative side effect to it. Like, for example, Nice. Nice is this individual who everybody sees as perfect, but the curse in that is that he's obsessed with perfection. You have Furman, which nothing can knock down. This guy can always be standing, but the problem is that he can't even sit down to go to the bathroom. You have Moon, who has the ability to teleport to places, but as people love her being with Nice, eventually the only place that she can teleport to is Nice because people want her to be with Nice. There's always a side effect to power. And to see how people kind of either, yes, deal with those side effects, or again, those side effects driving them crazy, is always interesting. Through and through, I just really enjoyed it. It was a really fun ride. The studios that came together to put this together were fantastic as well. Some of the episodes were done like more of a CGI style to it, which I don't normally like, but I actually liked it. I think it looked really good. Obviously, I still prefer the 2D episodes, but through and through, it was really fantastic. Great music. So want to hear Yuki involved as well, and I hope we get another season. But yeah, To Be Hero X, my number 5. Moving on to my number 4, can we pause for a moment here and just appreciate how absolutely gorgeous Toilet Bound Hanako-kun is? Yes, my number 4 is Toilet Bound Hanako-kun Season 2, Part 2. I absolutely love the art style of this show, and I want more and more series to adopt this style. It's just every single shot of this series is like art that I just want to get printed and put on a display behind me. But no, I love Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. Now, I wasn't like big and hot on Toilet Bound Hanako-kun with its first season. It's okay. The idea here is that you have this girl, Nene Yoshiro, and she's got a lot of romance problems, and she goes to one of the wonders of the schools. For those who don't know, there's a lot of schools and whatnot in Japan especially, where you have this concept of wonders in the school, where there's like 7 wonders in the school. You know, if you go to the staircase, don't step on the 3rd step because it involves this wonder. If you go to this stall in the bathroom, and you knock and say, Hanako-kun, Hanako-kun, come out, this Hanako-kun will come out and they'll grant you your wish. And yes, in this story, there is this Hanako-kun, Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, where you can ask it for a favor in return for something else. And so she asks for the wish of finding love. And that gets her kind of involved in the wonders of the school. All these different yokai and spirits that are bound to the school itself, and all the oddities that happens. And yes, in a lot of cases, she'll end up going to talk to her friend Aoi, who will say, hey, did you hear this rumor about this yokai or this spirit or this wonder? And then suddenly she's going to get wrapped up in it. It just, for some reason, happens. But yes, I enjoy the first season, especially around, again, the art style, which I just find to be chef kiss. I love this style. But second season, things just started ramping up. We get this unfortunate truth about Nene herself and the fact that she's going to die soon. And yes, Hanako is trying to stop that. And it starts to build up in the first wonder until eventually we get into part 2, where it starts to get into the 6th Shinigami. And hopefully how possibly Shinigami can undo that death of Nene. And with part 2, my gosh, things are just getting more and more heavy. This is one thing that I've always told people a lot of about this story that I love so much, is that while it does have this cutesy art style to it, it looks very, I don't know, like the best way I could describe it is like those Sunday school books that you used to have. It's like that style of it, but at the same time, we're talking about very nasty spirits here that are willing to kill in order to get what they want. And every now and then, especially Hanako will remind us, you can't really trust them. They're very dangerous. They're going to take your life. And yes, there's a lot of dealing with in the storyline itself with, yes, people wanting to die and the afterlife and crossing the sea and all that kind of stuff. It gets into some very difficult subjects, and the way that it portrays a lot of this stuff is just super creative. The world itself is very fascinating, and I love diving more and more into these characters. I highly suggest it. If you have not checked out the series, it's one of those series where it just feels like nobody's watching it, but I love it to death. Highly suggest it. My number 4, Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, Season 2, Part 2. Moving on to number 3, Thick Thighs That Can Break Rocks and Studio Bind absolutely cooking. Yes, my number 3 is Ruri Rocks. I absolutely love Ruri Rocks. And yes, a lot of the reasons why I love it so much is Studio Bind went crazy. The animators at Studio Bind just went absolutely nuts with this show, turning what would have been probably a throwaway show about mineralogy into a visual masterpiece. I made an entire video talking about my deeper thoughts on what Ruri Rocks is so special for, but the nutshell of it is the series is about inspiration. You have a girl who essentially wants to get jewelry, and at some point she gets introduced into the world of mineralogy. It's this idea of this girl just kind of seeing the surface value in things, but slowly over time as she learns about how minerals are made, she finds a joy in discovery. She discovers what's so great about these things that you normally would think, okay, it's just shiny. But then you see the deeper value of what made it, and that discovery about going out there and finding and calculating and figuring out how this stuff is made. That's the stuff that she ends up falling in love with. And I think the way they portray that stuff was fantastic. I think this writer is really good at, yes, geeking out about mineralogy. Let's be honest, this is a story about mineralogy. It's a mineralogy nerd who literally wants to make a cute girls doing cute things with all that vast knowledge they have about mineralogy. And it does get geeky about this stuff every now and then. But I think what's so special about Ruri Rocks, this anime itself, is how that writer and the characters they made, coupled with the creative minds of Studio Bind, the animators and the key animators and everybody that involved in it, was able to elevate into something that was entertaining, which I think that's the more difficult thing to pull off. how you take nerdy stuff and make it entertaining. I think they did that with this. You have a lot of the team members from Onimai, which, a lot of people probably avoided Onimai for the sake of this, fan service and whatnot. That creative talent there and making something that was a lot more wholesome. Let's be honest, there's no fan service here. What was here was just creativity in the characters' expressions, their thirst for knowledge and that inspiration and finding things and discovery moments, and the characters just lighting up with joy when they find what they want to find. I think that stuff was so beautifully portrayed. And then add on to that, having this kind of concept of sort of, a kohai being kind of inspired by a mentor, and then essentially the mentor being inspired by the kohai. All these kids coming together and inspiring each other to seek out their dreams, seek out knowledge, and thirst for the new. That kind of stuff was absolutely well portrayed in this series, and I absolutely found it to be a gem. I really did enjoy it. I highly suggest Ruri Rocks, easily my number 3. Moving on to my number 2, hot vampires, so many hot vampires. Sure, why not? Yes, my number 2 is Call the Night Season 2. My gosh, I literally didn't think we were ever going to get a Season 2 of this one, and I'm so happy it came back because this season was so fantastic. Yes, I adore Season 1 of Call the Night. It essentially follows a guy who's pretty much a shut-in. He goes out only at night until eventually he meets a vampire, and even though he wants to become a vampire, the odd quirk about vampires in this world is that you can't become a vampire or be turned into a vampire unless you love the one that's biting you. And Ko doesn't really understand love. And so it kind of turns this whole thing where it's about a guy trying to figure out what love is. And yes, eventually, hopefully, fall in love with this vampire. And what really kind of sold me on the first season was twofold. One, Nazana's hot as hell. All the vampires in this series, honestly, is hot as hell. Like, this character artist is just chef kiss. Like, every single shot of these women they're just gorgeous. But yes, Nazana herself is an absolute, fail vampire. She's an absolute dork. I absolutely love her to death. Her personality is just so fantastic. But what was really great about the first season was Ko meeting a bunch of different people, vampires and human alike, and learning about the difficulties that each of these people face. Things that most people wouldn't find to be very, difficult to deal with. These are things that these individuals find very difficult to kind of stomach and deal with. And I love that kind of very human element amongst a very vampire-ridden show. But man, Season 2 just absolutely took off. We have, of course, the appearance of the detective, Anko. And Anko wants to kill the vampires. And at some point in the second season, we discover how they actually plan on doing that. And it's a very clever mechanic because, yes, it makes sense why it would work, but it's interesting in the idea that it almost forced us to have to get a little bit of backstory about these vampires. It's a very clever mechanic that I thought was really cool. And I loved learning about these characters, especially getting into characters like Kabura, which I absolutely adored her story, getting into Midori and her goofy relationship that she has with one of her offsprings. That stuff was great as well, until it all culminated into Anko's core story, which is why she's doing this and how she's tied in with Nazana. That stuff was just so good. I love the aesthetic of the show. The music's phenomenal. I love the setting, the nightlife, and how they really bring that to life visually. Everything in all cylinders just really works for this series, and I just can't get enough of it. Please, Season 3, please. Call the Night Season 2, easily my number 2. And that all brings us down to number 1, which if anybody knows me, they know exactly what's going to go here. And yes, it's probably not going to be what some of you think it is, and we'll talk about that later. But yes, for most people that know me, you know what's going to be this number 1 slot. Yes, without a doubt, hands down, number 1 anime of summer 2025, Takopi's Original Sin. This show is basically a classic. Like, this is one of those shows that rarely comes along where I have no reservation whatsoever in saying 2 things here. 20 years down the road, I will still recommend people go back and watch Takopi's Original Sin. I have little doubts that I'll have any problem with putting this in my top at least 20 anime of all time. This is just one of those anime that comes across that, yes, while very difficult to watch, yes, is painful in a lot of regards, is just pure storytelling and visual cinema. Absolute cinema. For those who don't know what this series is about, you've been under a rock or whatever, it essentially follows a girl named Shizuka. And Shizuka at some point comes across this alien that she later calls Takopi. And Takopi is from this happy planet. And his whole quest is to go to other planets and spread happiness with all of his little gadgets. Problem is that Shizuka doesn't want to have anything to do with him. She doesn't believe in magic, and these gadgets seem like magic. See, the problem is that Shizuka has pretty much lost all hope for life. Like, the only joy in Shizuka's life is her dog. Outside of that, she's tormented. In school and outside of school, she's brutally bullied by a girl named Marina, and at home, she has no parents there. Her father's already left the house, and her mother's rarely home. She's actually an escort. Now, where this gets really interesting is, yes, that part right there is already, like, heartbreaking. The stuff that Shizuka goes through in the bullying is just, it hurts. It hurts so freaking much, and this studio held nothing back. What gets more interesting from here on is the other perspective, is getting into Marina and why she's so brutally bullying Shizuka. What makes her tick, I think, is a lot of more fascinating stuff. And then on top of that, it's kind of pivots once again to, okay, that was interesting, but now we're getting into how Shizuka slowly kind of changes over time and how her mind is so warped by her life experience. There's like so many layers to this series that I found extremely painful, but also extremely fascinating and very intrigued to deep dive into. The writing behind this series holds nothing back. The characters themselves are extremely fascinating, and it's all in a package by an incredibly talented team of directors and writers and animators. What this studio did with this show should be an example to literally everybody in the industry. Taking something like this with very difficult subject matter and turning it into actual art where every emotion itself is portrayed in some artistic way through visuals, audio cues, the warping of the characters themselves, how they're positioned in the shot itself, was all just top notch. For example, showing the world itself warping around the character when they're feeling tense, having that feel of the weight of the world itself kind of bearing down upon them. The hard cuts of time frames between the moment where everything's safe and calm to a moment where everything is kind of fallen apart. And yes, this team and the studio's willingness to just be bold, throw that warning label on that first episode, say, hey, we've come to the decision that we're not going to hold anything back. This is going to be graphic. We're not going to hold anything back. And follow through with it. This show deals with bullying. It deals with people taking their own lives. It deals with extremely graphic domestic violence. And it holds none of it back. And although it's very painful to watch, the message is there. And it's one of those series that at the end of it, when I look back at the message that it had, it gives that element of hope. That idea of understanding each other. That idea of understanding that hurt people, and that hurt people can also help hurt people. And that message was extremely inspiring for me. But that's all for me to say. That is why Takopi's Original Sin is my number one anime of the season. Probably my number one anime of the year. We'll see though. But just no contest. No contest whatsoever. Which that gets in my honorable mentions. Yes. Some people are probably wondering, Andrew, what about Lord of Mysteries? Yes, I debated for a long time. Am I going to put Lord of Mysteries in my top 10 anime of the season? And that's exactly why not. Yes, technically, Lord of Mysteries is a danwa. It is produced, it's animated, it's voiced, written, everything in China. That's not to say that's a bad thing. It's just that this is an anime list. Now, yes, some people are going to ask, why do you have To Be Hero X? But To Be Hero X is still technically produced by Aniplex, and yes, still has a lot of people involved in Japan. If it was in my list, it would easily be number 2. It's not going to be Takopi's Original Sin. I'm sorry. Maybe season 2 would, but so far, yeah, it would easily be my number 2. But I really did love Lord of Mysteries. I highly suggest everybody check it out. It is just a phenomenal isekai series that I think that writer is an absolute genius. They just have a creative mind that's just unparalleled by a lot of people. That aside, though, other honorable mentions, I love Nukitashi The Animation. I love how unapologetic that show was. It was just like the most absurd concept about this island with this lewd law and that how everybody just has to go at it. And if you don't, you get in charge for stuff. It's just like the reverse of everything happening in the world right now with censorship and whatnot. And I love they actually did that. Like, hey, amidst all this stuff, here's Nukitashi that literally is giving a middle finger to all the censorship happening right now. I loved it. I loved how unapologetic it was and just how raunchy it was. And the humor itself was so absurd. I definitely love the series. Clevatess, Really enjoyed it. A fantastic new fantasy series. Definitely another one that I really badly wanted to put in this list. Like, I if you ask me in like a week, I'll probably say, yeah, Clevatess was my top 10, wasn't it? Like, it has to be in there. Like, just a new fantasy series. I love the world building itself, all these different races, all the different kingdoms, all their own desires that they have in the world itself. And in the middle of it all is Clevatess, who's just, I love the character. Danadon season 2, yes, wasn't as great as the first season. I feel like a lot of what I love season 1 for was kind of lost in season 2, and that's really the chemistry of the characters. I feel like the chemistry kind of went to the wayside in order to have people kind of do their own thing too much. Thus, we kind of lost a lot of that, like, Ayase Okuron goofiness that I love in the first season. It just needs to get the band back together. Like, there's too many characters now, and I think it kind of sucks. Summer Pockets, I loved it. It broke my heart so many freaking times. I really enjoyed all the characters, all the story arcs themselves. The only reason it fell off my top 10 list is really around the idea that at some point it turned to Clannad. At some point, while I loved it, it turned to Clannad, so it wasn't as, fresh and shocking as I was kind of hoping the later parts would be. For my final honorable mention, the summer Hikaru died. I absolutely love this show. Another one that asked me in a week and it'll probably be in there. Like, this is one that just was clawing to stay in the top 10 list. I really did enjoy it. The thing I love most about this series was just that psychological yokai spirit type of twist. Like, the way that it was able to portray that unsettling feeling of being present with something that is unknown was what I love so much about it. The concept being this guy who loses his friend Hikaru knows that even though Hikaru came back, that it's not Hikaru, and it ends up being this entity from the mountain has possessed his friend's body. And the fact that this thing that could kill people and seemingly has killed people is sitting right next to him is completely warping his mind. There's this mixing element they get into several times throughout the series about how his spirit and his body is mingling with this unknown entity, and how it's completely messing with him and making him realize at some point, this is kind of screwed up that I'm just keeping this pet around me. And the fact that I'm not literally mourning the loss of my friend because I'm accepting that my friend's back, even though I know it's not my friend. That psychological turmoil that our character is going through the entire series was just, I loved it. I loved it. And another one that was just visually beautiful throughout the entire series. But yeah, I just love that series so much. And again, I kind of want to have my list. I want to put it in the 10 list, but yeah, it's just a good season. Overall, good season. But that's it. That's it. I'm done. I'm done talking about summer. I'm ready to move on with my life. Summer has been hell, and I'm finally able to put it behind me. But I did want to put together this list for you guys. I think there's a lot of people out there that were overwhelmed by summer. And now as we go into the fall season, we're obviously seeing that there's not so many great shows this coming season. So a lot of people are kind of looking back to going, okay, what I missed back there. So hopefully y'all found this video informative. Hopefully you found something in here. You're like, holy crap, I didn't know about that. I'm gonna go check that out. Pretty much everything in this list and all the honorable mentions, I highly suggest people checking them out. So I hope you guys found this video informative. If you did, hit the like button down below. If you like this content, you want to support on more, become a member of the channel. Until next time, y'all take care.